we've seen before, or the El Presidente, or a combo of both.
It seems like the match is ready. Casters, take it away.
Welcome everybody, we're going into Junkertown for the first map here. We do of course have the two teams ready to go. Orgless and Hungary taking on Squid12324. That's probably gonna mess me up in the future, but Brunch, how you doing?
Doing really, really good because we have so many exciting matchups coming up next, and this is going to be a very important one because, as we've previously discussed before we went live, I really think these two have what it takes to potentially contest those top 3 spots. And with Squid, their recent results in the Open Division haven't been too good, but you just can't count them out just looking at all these names in this roster.
Yeah, unfortunately, a little bit of that was while we were live. They heard a little bit of that as well, but without context, you guys don't know exactly what we were talking about. But anyways, looking at this matchup here, we do see a pretty aggressive defense starting out from Squid12324. Sharp going to be on this Reaper pick as they go ahead with the rest of it just being really kind of tank heavy, certainly looking to try to take advantage of this aggressive dive option as they're just jumping in on Visibility. They find the kill early on already, taking one, but now they have to back up. Definitely a quick response from Orgless and Hungary, but they're going to have to try to find their way back over to the point, and Visibility not swapping off the Bastion just yet, so it looks like they might want to set up here.
Very aggressive positioning coming out of the likes of Squid, as they will already try to push Shax back towards the spawn. This is some really surprising stuff coming out of Squid as they open up in big time here on Junkertown. Definitely seem to be 100% prepared, but now that next will be desuited, might open up something here, but still with these extra final staggered kills, it just seems like Orgless and Hungry have a tough time breaking this composition.
And this is where I think Squid12324 looks really good because, you know, some people might have been hearing us talk about Graceful a little bit before, but something he does bring to this team is the fact that he is flexible in terms of being able to bring all of those off tanks into the fray as well. So, I mean, talking about like the next meta, really, really strong player to have, but even right now they can take advantage of it because he can pick up that Zarya and be really, really consistent with it so that they can pull out these tank kind of compositions and look pretty much the best at it from what we've seen so far. Really kind of having a good defense. So, you know, we just don't see that all too often just yet. We'll have to see if that kind of thing does continue going forward. But as they come back into the fight here, we're seeing some swap ups. Sharp going off of the Reaper and now onto the Widowmaker. He's going to be taking a little bit of a duel here between himself and Shax. He does have the sight line to make this happen, but this is the tank coming out.
Ooh.
Graceful eliminates it though.
Now that we will see Finzi answer with another one to decode, Visibility is going to be brought back up, and with Transcendence popping off, it's still going to mean that the rest of Orgless are still alive for now, but the Graviton it still catches so many, but with no follow-up means that Orgless still push through. Shax cleaning up those final kills, and they will still not be halted. And nice attempt, but even with the Graviton catching so many members of Orgless and Hungary, no follow means it's just gonna be them still pushing through. We might see them contest once again before that checkpoint, but again, considering the disadvantage they're in, I'm just gonna go ahead and give that one away. Try to set up on that high ground, make sure at the very least going into the next phase of Junkertown, they are in a much better spot.
And they made their swaps now. Their support cores, Vaneless and Evokia, they both came over to the more standard supports, I would say, in terms of how to play with the dive right now. Sharp going to be eliminated by Shax as Decod actually goes ahead and gets aggressive, but he's going to have to pull back. They're now at a 5v6 disadvantage as Graceful taking a little bit of pressure himself, but just kind of poking and prodding, trying to take the Bastion off of the cart. They do so with a nice kill on a Tonic as well. And look at Graceful just jumping in, forcing Visibility all the way back here. He's going to get rezzed up. That's going to be Tonic back into the fray, and now they're going to try to brawl on the point once again, and Orgless and Hungary taking the third fight in a row for themselves.
And they're playing so aggressive here time and time again. And that's one of the big things when it comes to those squad tanks as well, is if it doesn't work out, you just have to go for that hard reset. And when you have to swap so many different picks, it just really hurts going to the upcoming team fights. But now already being back up, set up on the payload, does mean that they will be having one more fight at the very least before reaching that checkpoint. We'll see who can come out on top as the blade is ready to go. Graceful looking for those targets, finds the first one, gets another one, And now with Facility going down, Graceful gets a triple kill. And finally, Squid, once again, find a good defense. And we've seen it in the past. The second checkpoint of Junkertown seems to be contested so many times. Really not being able to push through means that Squid, do you find their bearings here? Will have used all of their ultimates though, and with only Veinless and Decod having them back up, they should at the very least potentially stall this next team fight.
You know, that same thing that you were talking about before with teams making swaps, it becomes an issue for the attacking side because now they have to go ahead and start generating some aggression so that they can build up their own ultimates, but they're not going to even need it. They're going to go in completely stale, no ultimates generated, no ultimates used other than, of course, Cruz pulling out a Valkyrie of his own, and they're surging forward. They already took the first couple of picks. A great dive down by Tonic. Remember, he doesn't have that backup that you would typically see in a dive from that D.Va. It was just Tonic and Facility jumping straight in, and look how quickly Facility was able to get that blade. He was able to just rip it out. He pulled out 2 kills with it and secures the fight and the second objective with it.
At the very least, though, for this lineup of Squid12324, we'll see Graceful have his blade back up, so both Genjis here really impressing overall in terms of building that ultimate as fast as possible. But coming into this next team fight, we'll see Orgless and Hungry look to continue pushing through, maybe contest that high ground, but the blade is gonna come out of Graceful, finds Cruz and a big target at that, but can he get anything else? Both supports down, and just like that, Squid once again holds strong.
To some of the most consistent blading we've seen in a matchup between Graceful and Facility. So far, nobody can be denied as they pull that blade out. But looking forward here, 2 minutes 23 on the clock in the time bank right now. See Veinless far ahead in terms of that Valkyrie. Definitely want to see that if you want to be able to hold out, especially as, you know, picks come through with the Widowmaker that Shax is still holding on to. And we do see Ebbs taking that first kill as Sharp returns fire. Cruz gonna fall there, and Sharp still just popping off at the moment. He finally gets taken down, but should be rezzed up by Veinless, who goes very aggressive to find both rezzes off the second charge there as well. And Squid once again mopping things up here, and look at where they're at in the enemy spawn.
Just, it's been such a pleasure to watch these guys play so aggressive. Of course, they have been punished before, but for the most part, it seems to work as, again, this doesn't mean Graceful. Already at 96% towards that blade, already good to go. But Cruz having that Valk could be enough of a staying power here for the offensive team as they will try to push through. Facility pulls out the blade, gets both supports, looks for more. Sharp answers with 1 kill, but it's gonna be Orgless and Hungry's show as they will clean up and continue the push on this payload. Gets the team kill as well. 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining, and quite a bit of distance still to cover. However, definitely still possible. And what I want to see out of Squid is them use those ultimates really patiently, if you will, into this next team fight.
Certainly, Graceful wants to be patient here because, as of course Eva goes down, Epps is still holding on to that Transcendence. If they don't take this kill early, you know, they will not be able to pull that blade out. They're gonna actually find the kill onto that Zenyatta and somehow making a stop here as Nex goes back into his mech. He's going to be ripped right on back out by the pulse bomb. Shaq's going to be cleaning up alongside his DPS duo partner Facility. They're going to keep pushing this payload on forward. Somehow these DPS flankers for Orgless and Hungry keep this fight going. Now trying to hold their ground a little bit as Epps comes back into the fight. We're going to be seeing Cruz coming very close to having that Valkyrie, and now it's getting to that stage where Evokia, he already pulls out that Transcendence, and now Orgless and Hungry are going to have both support ults. That's really, really good for their win rate here in terms of just trying to take this fight. Usually, teams with both support ults are going to be able to take it, and boy, are they ever. Facility cleaning things up with the blade.
Oh man, it's just too easy for him as he just had to follow up Finzy's very nice self-destruct there, and as a result, as we do have overtime, we should have at the very least one more fight, but Evokia is going to be the first one to go down. Facility still claiming kills on that Genji as they will continue to contest this payload, but Nex being the final member here will soon go down, and with no other members inside, this is going to be, in the end, Orgless and Hungry taking it all the way, but very nicely fought here by Squid12324.
A lot of people looking at this Orgless and Hungry roster right now and seeing Visibility popping off at the moment, but wondering about Cruz, remembering back over to Overwatch Pit Season 1, Cruz was definitely a standout player, and especially on the Genji is where you saw him a lot, and now all of a sudden he's on the Mercy with Visibility taking his old role, and the reason for that is of course, that Morte, who is now coaching this roster, used to be a teammate of Cruz on Reunited and E United, kind of advised him, I think about a month or two ago, you know what, you need to go back over to the main support role. While you're a fantastic Genji and while you have that flexibility now under your belt, you're a great in-game leader, you're great at calling, you're great at just mechanics in terms of all the supports as well. One of the better Lucios in the Western scene as well, is what he told him. So Cruz said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do that. He made that swap, and now you see him back over to the support role where he's doing a lot of the leading in-game right now for this squad.
But even with Cruz on that lineup, you do have the likes of Finzi, who, as we've seen last season of the Overwatch Pit, is managing to get that first place finish. Just been an excellent player overall, and now in that off-tank role can definitely also provide some extra in-game voice when it comes to that shot calling role.
Fantastic
being in the front line,
well,
and
too.
most definitely. And just, again, Visibility finding this player, of course, scouting him out. I believe he said after he watched him play for the Danish team, definitely seems to be paying off for them. But going into this next round,
before the Danish team, actually.
Oh, even before, nicely done. But it is going to be the Graceful on that Hanzo, going really, really low there. But this is something we've seen before, Hurix. Something pretty common on Junkertown offense, as Sharp will be the first one to claim a kill. And the second one to follow.
Sharp has been really doing a lot here so far for these guys, and now we see him popping off on the Widow. Graceful hasn't really been able to do too much at the moment, but not really because he's really been missing or anything like that. It's just because Sharp's been doing so much. Sharp's been just going forward, taking these really aggressive angles, and Graceful, or really anybody else on the team, including Evokia on the Bastion here, hasn't really had any opportunities yet.
Ooh, but Shaxx answering with a really good kill there onto Vainless, somehow spots him out all the way in the back, and now finding Sharp as well. This could push Squid all the way back towards their spawn, as he will still play very aggressive. Evokia will be the one to go down, and now with the damage boosts also coming through on Visibility, he's gonna try and just get those stagger kills rolling. But gotta say, even Sharp, when we talked to this lineup of Squid12324 before the tournament started, they said he's one of these players they scouted out and ranked. So looking at him now coming into this team definitely seems to be a potential standout for them, as at the very least now over on the defensive side, Cruz and EPZ already good to go with both ultimates is going to mean that they should have a good time coming into this next team fight.
Yeah, really being able to keep Evs and Cruz safe in the backline is going to be big here. Now they force both of them out very early on, and Cruz is going to be taken out before he can even get his second res off. He does manage to get Visibility back into it. He was going to pull up his Riptire, but it's going to be very hard for them to turn this one around, especially as the Bastion just so safe right here in the middle, right there. And now he's going to be able to take down that Riptire, as well as the rest of the team of Orgless and Hungry. As they fall, they take the first objective. A lot of time to work with here as well. They're going to keep this composition going forward at the moment. It doesn't seem like they're making any adjustments. And look at the change, actually. We see them taking the high ground over here. Squid12324 obviously know that they have a game plan right now, and they're going to take advantage of it. Just get some free distance on the cart in the meantime as well.
And we've seen this before. We might actually, or rather, in case Orgless not good, you take this fight, we might see a hard swap potentially coming out of the offensive team. But now already next, popping that whole hog's gonna try and find something here, as he does get Visibility there in the end. Tonic, though, still answering. However, kills overall in favor of Squid. They will manage to push through, and with those ultimates still being built up, they don't even need to swap coming into this next team fight. But on the other side, Visibility rapidly once again looking for that blade.
With now looking to try to take this next fight to have a lot to work with going forward. Remember, they were able to make that defense go all the way to overtime. And now this fight happens right before they actually pull it in, and a stick onto Veinless secures not only him, but Sharp to go down as well. Visibility pulls out the blade another time, takes 2, and that will be the cleanup that they were looking for. Now with an opportunity here to also take a late kill on the Graceful, but he slips away, and now they make those adjustments. We're seeing Decod now moving everything over. They're going to be changing over to a full dive composition. Expect Graceful to likely go over to a Genji here.
Should expect that, especially considering even Evokia had that tank configuration ready to roll, but decided to just commit for that dive comp. And I really like this, because if they committed to that previous composition just because of the ultimates before, if they were to be stalled once more, it's just going to mean that they'll have that much, or rather, that amount of less of a time still good to go for that second objective. So overall, looking at the ultimate advantages being built up, of course, it shall be in favor of Orgless, especially considering Sharp is going to go down to start off that fight.
Taking a kill like that early definitely bodes well for Orgless and Hungry now, who take the onto Veinless, and they're just surging forward, looking for everything that they can get. And again, these guys are hungry indeed. Sharp comes back from spawn. He's going to find a kill onto Shax, but that won't amount to much anything at all. They're still waiting on respawns here, and look how aggressively these tanks are positioned so far forward, trying to take anything that they can get. But now you look at the defense here. Look at the ults that have been stacked up. Orgless and Hungry holding on to virtually everything. They're only waiting on the blades. Certainly Visibility will be able to generate that in just a few seconds here, but everything else they've got both support ults, which is very, very pivotal in any kind of fight. But now holding on to everything else, I mean, how could they lose this?
It's gonna most likely come down to the Squid potentially finding that prime target on one of the supports, but Shax answers with the first kill, gets a second as he continues to rain down so much damage onto the Squid lineup. And oh, Cruz extremely low, will manage to stay alive, as we'll still see Sharp answer with another kill. But overall, as you said, with so many ultimates still good to go on this lineup of Orgless and Hungry, they should have, at the very least, a good shot at holding this payload before that second checkpoint.
And I really like that both supports said, you know what, we'll take the death. We don't want to use any of our ultimates yet, because this next fight could very well be the last one of this match. Now, Tonic is getting very aggressive here as he wants to pull out this Primal Rage, make sure that he stays alive long enough to get his supports back into play, so either A, he doesn't die, or B, if he does, they have enough time to get back over and then allow Cruz to pop that Valk and res him back up. So now 30 seconds remain here, Brunch, and we see Tonic, of course, without his ultimate now as he just used it. But again, they do still have both support ults. We're seeing Squid also holding on to both of them at the moment, but Graceful does have that blade. Now, the question is he going to get aggressive and try to find an instant pick onto that Zenyatta? And that's going to be the case. We do see a lot of support being thrown over to try to prevent Graceful's blade, and boy, does it ever. He finds nothing. I don't even think he found any damage with it.
Unfortunate there for him, as APZ will be brought back up, and now coming in with the Transcendence will be able to keep the rest of his team alive. Evokia being resurrected on top means that they will have their very own extra healing coming into this team fight. It's still an all-out brawl on the payload, as Sharp will manage to find Facility, and now with the EPZ also going down, somehow, some way, Squid find the kills they need, and they will manage to push this payload and get that checkpoint, but that was looking very dicey for a second.
Graceful, after being denied his blade, did a great job of zoning out Facilities as well, just making sure that there was a little bit of focus. And now he's going to be pulling Veinless back over. They need to get this Mercy back over to the fight quickly so that their team doesn't take a 4v6 assault right out of the gate, especially when they don't have a lot of time to work with here. I mean, they really have to win pretty much everything that they have ahead of them if they want to be able to tie this one up and have another opportunity. But now Sharp throws out the pulse bomb, does land the stick onto Facility. They secure the kill, as well as the D-Mech and kill onto Finzi, and this allows them to get very aggressive here. Now Sharp needs to make sure that he stays safe, and they're just cleaning up a little bit. If they can continue this momentum, if we see this trickle still occurring from Orgless and Hungry here, this could be a very big mistake that could potentially allow for this third objective to be captured with no real fight other than just kind of stringing in several kills over time.
And we'll see if Graceful can make up for that past Dragon Blade, as he does have it ready to go. No ultimates available just yet. However, Cruz, if he doesn't go down, he'll just go ahead, straight up pop that Valkyrie in response. And as a result, he's going to be also annoying for that Genji, and Graceful unable to find that particular kill means that Fenty and Shax find the ones in return. However, next, getting the one into visibility will mean Cruz is going to be forced to go for the Resurrect. EPZ will have his Transcendence timeout, will manage to stay alive with the likes of Cruz still up in the skies. Does finally go down as visibility now with his very own Dragon Blade. He's going to look to dish out that damage. Damage boosted means that he will find Decod, and with Tonic cleaning up, it will be Orgless and Hungry pulling out the win in the end.
Overall, good performance from Squid. I mean, this is Junkertown. You can't really, get too much out of this. It's one of those maps that a team can look fantastic on Junkertown, and when you go over to the next series of maps, everything just looks incredibly different. So it's going to be tough to say that Orgless and Hungry is just a better team all around from a map like this, but certainly both teams looking to be quite competitive with each other, and that's exactly what we like to see to start out Group B.
Very nicely done. Even there, Evoke getting a quad kill of his own. But we'll be right back with the next map of Horizon Lunar Colony. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back again at the analysis desk. I'm really impressed how Squid played this. They lost the match, but they definitely got some style points for that one.
This is really why I really was looking forward to this particular matchup, because while again Squid12324 didn't really have necessarily the best or a perfect score in the open division so far, they're definitely one of the teams to look out for, and they clearly demonstrated why.
Yeah, it's great to see a team going this aggressive on a clear favorite, I'd say. So, looking at this match, it all came down to the second point when Visibility and Shax kinda cost a lot of time for Squid, and that's basically the reason why they lost on the third point, I'd say.
It was really interesting back and forth, just overall speaking, in terms of both of these respective teams' offenses push. Of course, when it comes to Squid12324, I really like the fact that they played so far forward, so aggressive. It really seemed to have caught their opponents a little bit off guard. Whereas on the side of Orgless and Hungary, they were quick to adapt and really, in the end, managed to also pull the win as a result.
Now coming into next map, Horizon Lunar Colony, do you think we are going to see a 2-0?
It's going to be a difficult one to predict just because these teams seems to be really close, and as a result, it's a tough one. But considering, again, Squid12324 preferring that quad tank lineup and already showing their hand at it a little bit, I think they might really gain much more out of that first point push.
The match seems to be ready. Let's jump right into it.
Welcome back, everybody. We have Horizon Lunar Colony. Wow, what's going on with my voice or my mouth or whatever? But we have it ready to go here.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. It can be. It can be. But either way, we have it ready. And here's what I'm wondering. We have seen teams experiment, especially with first point, with a number of different comps. We've seen dive, we've seen anti-dive, we've seen tank. Obviously both being attack and defense, but what do you expect from these two teams specifically for at least on this particular attack defense mode?
It would be a cop-out, I'd say, almost, to just say, oh, Orgless and Hungary are just going to go for the dive. It can definitely work on both points. It's an easy one. But again, just as you said, just looking at these two in particular, I would like to see Visibility actually potentially stick to that. Sombra might not come through in the end. However, considering how much success Sombra have seen in this particular tournament so far, it's going to be an interesting one to check out whether or not Visibility can indeed do a better or have a better time. But almost actually going down to the mine there, coming out of Graceful.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to, of course, amount to just some free ult charge, and he's going to go forward with Shax now just to pull everybody back, and they're going to, of course, also get both angles. They're going to have the ability to go ahead and leave Shax on that back side because he does have that free small health pack that he can just keep taking advantage of while everybody else attacks from the other side. They have the advantage of having that mega, so Visibility is not only keeping Shax safe here by giving him that free heal, but he's also benefiting a lot because he's going to be able to take multiple angles. They've already taken advantage of that by taking multiple kills already, where really they're just kind of suffocating them out and taking this first fight with ease. He's pulling away with an EMP, not the quickest EMP, but certainly a very decent rate for Visibility there. And now going into that second fight, they're going to have a ton of momentum to work with.
And oh man, that split aggression coming out of this lineup of Orgless and Hungary definitely paying off big time here with 6 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. They have so much time in the world, but Shax going down early there is going to make it a little bit more difficult for now.
It stops their momentum for a moment, but Graceful here is going to be on a Pharah. Oftentimes you'll see this position being held by a Junkrat, but he's making a little bit of a change here in terms of what you would often see. They're still going for that dive, that counter dive, I guess you could call it. Graceful taking a little bit of pressure to start things off, but Shax with the first kill. Look at all the kills coming online now for Orgless and Hungary. They're so good at just starting this off. EMP went out, and boy, did they find a lot of effectiveness out of that particular ultimate, but somehow Evokia finds a kill for himself. Still not going to be enough, though, but they're going to come back. Squid out of respawn right now. They're trying to find something, but they need to get a couple of kills here, and while we do see the hacks coming out from Visibility, it's going to deny defense matrices. It's going to deny any kind of hope for defense here. And look at the timer. Just under 6 minutes. They have to kill off Graceful. He's too high in the sky. And now they secure it 5:48. The time bank for Orgless and Hungary, man, they're looking even better than what we saw in Junkertown.
Oh man, we thought this team was prepared in terms of overall game plan strategy. Boy, did they deliver on Lunar Colony, as with so much time in that time back, it's going to be really difficult for Squid, just even mentally thinking about it before going into this next round, that not only do you have to pick up both points, you also have to do it in a really good time to contest this team of Orgless and Hungary going into that potential third and fourth point. So it's going to be really tough for Squid, but considering how close these two teams matched up against each other on Junkertown, I feel that we might still definitely have a really good match on their hands.
This is where, again, I think that Squid looks their best. They're going to be attacking with that tank comp. Not sure what to expect from Sharp on the Roadhog, as of course we saw him on some other heroes before. We first, of course, saw him on the Reaper and then onto the Widowmaker, but now we're going to be seeing the full tank lineup here that they're going to go with for this first point. And I mean, from what we saw in Junkertown with their first point hold, certainly looking the best of what we saw from their defense, I would say. Do you think that this is going to be a good attack for them, or do you think that they're going to be stopped short?
Considering most likely Orgless is expecting that quad tank to come through, it's going to come down to whether or not they can adapt to their positioning when it comes to Squid's approach onto that particular point and how they will be able to make most of that out of that high ground to make sure they keep a hold of it. Because we've seen in the past the likes of Urki, of course, on that Junkrat, what he's able to do on that particular hero when it comes to just dishing out a lot of damage into those tanks, and as a result also charging up those Riptires really quick.
Something also to take note of is Shaq's position. That's something you kind of want to keep an eye on here, as when they do get aggressive from the tank lineup of Squid, he's going to have to take a different angle to try to take advantage of the fact that they can only block from certain directions. Decod taking a lot of pressure early on. He's going to go down, not able to get there quick enough, as Evokia needed to get that speed boost over to him, but perhaps a little bit of a delay there from Decod on his part that wound up to going towards his demise. Now they're trying to get away as the aggression is coming out from Orgless and Hungry. Boy, did they really they really did expect it, didn't they, you know?
But Tonic there, I'm not sure why he went on that particular solo mission, as he will go down in the end, and as a result it might make things a little bit more difficult for his team. No more barriers is definitely not something you're going to be looking forward to here in this team fight, as the rest of Squid is going to regroup, go on to the point, and so far uncontested means that they will rapidly approach that first stick. But as said, the Riptire is ready to roll, looking for those targets, and gets one onto Evoke. One of the supports already down. Could mean big things here for this lineup of Orgless.
Yeah, now they lose either the speed or even more healing. Vaneless going to try to keep things together as he does pull out that Coalescence, and they are securing some kills, but Crew's going to come through, as well as Epps, just to try to get that momentum shifted back in their favor. They allowed 2 ticks to come through, but they should back the rest of these tanks out. Sharp going to go around the side. He's going to be dying out probably pretty late, and it looks like that. Ooh, he will find the kill onto Epps, but now we're going to be seeing Finzi needing to pull out as they're going to go forward again. Evokia just pulling everybody back into the fight. They're going to go ahead and pull back. Go ahead, and now we're going to see if the second front will work out just as well. But you have to wonder, is Graceful going to need to pull out this Graviton? Ideally, of course, they want to hold on to it for that second objective. They only really need 1 tick, so if you get aggressive here, maybe with a sound barrier or something, you might be able to secure it. But you really want to see that last fight kind of work out in their favor so that they can go in with some momentum. But now sound barrier coming out, and there's the Graviton Surge as well. They're not having a lot of follow-up. Finally, though, Next connects with that self-destruct, and they're cleaning up here now.
And now that they will be able to get that particular point, they're going to try and snowball their way to the second point. Not willing to swap just yet, as with those staggered kills, it's going to make things a little bit more difficult for Orgless to hold. And now with the Riptire coming through, can he find any targets before being taken down? He's still alive and gets one once more onto Evoke. And with another support down to start it all out here for Squid, it's going to mean that I just don't see how they're going to be able to get anything done on the second point, even though Graceful still answers with 2 kills off of that high ground.
Now you have to wonder, are they going to make some swaps here too? Sharp, I mean, obviously Graceful already made a swap of his own. Evokia did it as well. Vaneless, even though he has Coalescence, is swapping over to the Mercy. So they are making these big swaps. Decod going to, of course, go over to the Winston here, and Next staying on that Diva. So now they're going over to that full dive, of course, trying to make space for Graceful on this soldier that he's been on. He was able to find a lot of damage in that last fight, but now with these changes, these little tiny adjustments to the composition, should be in a little bit better of a position. But they still have to deal with Visibility up here on this high ground. They have the dive to do it, but they still have to find the kill, which means executing properly.
But we will see EPZ ready to roll with the Transcendence. Doesn't need to use it just yet. Finzi, though, being dropped extremely low, does not manage to find the resuit. And as a result, he will go down to Decod. Shaq still, though, answering with a kill onto that particular Winston and getting the D-suit with that pulse bomb could potentially be big. But Graceful popping that tac visor, even though wasn't looking too good for his team, as it seems a little bit of a miscommunication potentially, but now with that Riptire finding the kill in the end is gonna push this rest of Squid back towards their spawn. And once both of your tanks go out, Curix, I don't know if it was, again, a little bit of a miscommunication there for pulling out the Tag Visor, or just potentially try to get Veinless, his Valk, back up into that team fight. Not entirely sure what the thought process was there.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a miscue on that one, but he's going to be trying to generate that one back up for a second time, as Facility did pull out a late Riptire. He's going to try to look to get a Riptire once more, and they're just still throwing so much damage up here from the high ground, as, again, the aggression towards Facility on this Junkrat, it's endless, completely endless. Now Graceful trying to get that kill second time onto Facility. They find it with the self-destruct. He's going to get denested off the high ground as Evokia is going to come out of that Transcendence, looking to try to shut down Shax here. After the Pulse Bomb does take out Graceful, and still a very long-winded fight here on the point. Next is going to be desuited as they find the kill with Shax just really popping off on the point, holding it down for the team. Primal Rage going to be coming out here now for Decod as he's looking to hold on, and it's Graceful yet again with Attack Visor. He's going to try to pull this out, keep this fight going in their favor, but Shax finds yet another takedown of this man, and they should be able to clean up Decod. So a lot used here already for this attack for Squid, and obviously very far down and behind in terms of time bank. I mean, what do you make of this so far? Do you make changes at this stage?
It's a tough one to call, especially considering the fact that they didn't even get a single tick. They were focused on getting those final few kills to potentially get the objective afterwards. Weren't really able to find those, and considering the ult advantage that's still being built up for Orgless, even with a few changes, I can't see them really getting anything done here, at the very least for now, coming into this next team fight, unless they get the good pick. But Facility is gonna be finding Decod, as he did try to denest him off of the high ground, and now Tonic popping that Primal Rage is still gonna be a big nuisance. And with 1 minute and 48 seconds remaining, at this point Squid is rapidly running out of options.
A big thing here, I think, to take note of is the fact that with Facility staying up here, it's a great option for crews to go back and forth between Facility on the Junkrat on the high ground and Epps all the way in the back, kind of insulated close to that spawn where they can be invulnerable. So because of that, both of these supports are incredibly safe because they can support each other very well. They have great sightlines to work with, and Facility just pulls crews out of the fight when he's under fire a little bit.
Now we'll see, actually, Shax once again finding a target with the Pulse Bomb, but Graceful getting Facility is going to be a good one to start things off for this team fight when it comes to Squid12324. And with Shax going down, is going to be self-destructs on both sides. EPZ now popping his Transcendence, going to go down, and finally the kills come through for Squid as it will try to finalize this point take. But Facility, the tire here with barely any HP, manages to still find Decod. However, it doesn't seem to matter as Shax will go down in the end, and Squid, with a long team fight, are not able to close it out just yet, as we will see crews fly back in, getting both of those reses back up, and now we might still see the turnaround here.
I don't know. I mean, we did see Evokia pull out that Transcendence. That's a lot of staying power to be able to hold on to that composure. Shax still finding some kills in the back line. You know, just because of that lessened lethality from Squid, they weren't able to find anything inside of the Transcendence, so they didn't really shift that momentum back in their favor just yet. But now with Next coming out with a couple of kills himself, he's going to get demeched here, but they're still holding on quite well. Evokia making a swap over to the Lucio just to try to get back into the fight quickly, and they're getting backed off here. They were so close. They were at about 99%, just a hair of a second away from being able to get it. And now overtime ticking as the Attack Visor comes out. Graceful trying to find the kill on the Tonic. He's just kind of worming his way around this pole. He stays alive for a while. Just enough time for Facility to pull out Attack Visor of his own. He's finding kills inside of it. Overtime ticking. I don't think they're going to be able to make it to the point, but somehow Next does. He goes down. The self-destruct's still out. Facility now with a big cleanup here. And now we do see 2-0 to start up. Orgless and Hungry. Boy, hungry as ever.
And you gotta pose the question, just like Twishad did, are they just Orgless now? Now that they did have some Squid, if you will, but Facility getting a bunch of work done, especially, again, when it comes to those quad tank compositions. Junkrats is just able to build up so much charge towards that Riptire, and it's gonna be looking good for Orgless and Hungry, definitely playing to their strengths, but we will